Major political parties run focus groups and they are full steam ahead at the moment. They pay research companies to find out what voters you are thinking and feeling, and they use that to shape policies, messages and win elections. Joining me live now, as he does every week, is the director of RedBridge Group, Simon Welsh. Simon, great to see you. We see poll after poll published, and essentially it's showing the race is tightening. Scott Morrison still more popular than Anthony Albanese, but still a lot of undecided voters. What are you picking up in the groups?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Yeah, that's absolutely true. We've seen the polls sort of land last night, and they're still within sort of margin of error, 1 or 2% bouncing around, not a lot of move. And the sentiment in the focus groups is kind of along those lines. Like, it doesn't surprise me that they're coming through in the polls. So we're sort of getting this, and this could be a function of sort of the Easter Anzac, this sort of almost sort of hiatus in people's sort of attention on the election over these past couple of weeks. So that kind of doesn't surprise me. We've used that as an opportunity in this last week to sort of do a little bit of digging around some other issues, and we've gone in and had a bit of a look around what's happening around the sort of this coalition messaging around their little push around sort of transgender rights and the way they're sort of talking about those sorts of issues in this kind of last week.
Okay, so tell me about that, because obviously Catherine Deves is at the centre of that. She's a Liberal candidate for Warringah. Is it hurting or helping the party?
Yeah, it's, as all things in politics, Laura, a little from column A and a little from column B. I'd say at the outset, I shouldn't say absolutely no one, but the number of people that are voting on this issue in the way that the coalition are talking about it is infinitesimally small. So this is really about a values signal. So you've got to sort of evaluate it in those terms. And what we're seeing is, yes, that there is a cohort of voters that sort of look at this and go, well, you know what? He's a religious guy. They're a conservative party. So this, it kind of gels for us. And at least he's telling us the truth when he's saying these things. We kind of believe that he's this. So it gives him a kind of a, I'm talking about Scott Morrison here. It gives a kind of conviction to a certain sort of voter cohort, and that's an important voter cohort for the coalition because it's those on that right flank that they're losing to UAP, that they're losing to One Nation. So it gives us sort of a bit of appeal to that. The problem is, back in the centre and even the centre-right, people are looking at this and going, why are you talking about that now when we've got all these other issues that are going on? And you know what? We don't have an appetite to discriminate against trans people, particularly trans kids. I think there's a lot of people looking at it now going, how do I know my kids aren't going to be trans? So these sorts of issues, the attitude around this is really changing. And that centre right, when I talk about that centre right, I'm not just talking about the teal seats, which we've often talked about, but even in northern Tasmania, doing groups down there last week, there's no appetite for sort of hurting other Australians on an issue like this for what is seen as purely a political ground. So yeah, a little bit of good conviction value stuff on that right flank, but when in the mainstream, I think it's a very risky strategy.